Welcome, my friends, to the showdown between the Skaven, who shall be led by Lord Skrolk. And today, guys, we face off against the foul Tomb Kings, who shall be led by DJ Kotzep. And guys, we're facing the dreaded triple casket. So if we go ahead and take a look at this build here, you can see it's going to be a casket of souls, one casket here, and then of course Kotzep is going to be on his casket as well. And these things are actually pretty scary against Skaven because oftentimes Skaven will go for a very heavy kind of a Death Star against these guys, because basically you're so worried about being rushed by chariots and Nehekar horsemen that you kind of have to turtle up in a very tight formation with elite troops. And you can see back here that is indeed the case for my build. So I do of course have the Blightskeps Plague Pack, and the reason you bring them is because it gives immune to psychology to all your nearby troops. I have the Council Guard, a ton of stuff here, which are actually really good targets for the casket. So I was definitely very stressed when I jumped into this game and I saw the dreaded triple casket. Now, as far as our answers, we do have the Ikit Zap Zap cannon, we have Warplock Jezzails, but 3 caskets, that's going to be a lot to deal with. Now, for the rest of the build, it's very heavily designed against the Tomb King's rush. 2 Clan Rats, Rat Ogres, a couple Spears on the flanks, Warplock Jezzails. We do mix in some Warp Grinders, which are, of course, a newer unit, and these guys are pretty good. When the Tomb Kings come in for a big strike and try and cycle charge you, you can halt to that for a moment and generally do very well for yourself. So Warp Grinders here. Council Guard in the back, Helpit Abomination to fight the constructs. Zap Cannon is going to be guarded by some brave old Skaven slaves. And that's most of my army. Skrolk, of course, is going to have his summons as well as his juicy items. And on the far side of the map, I actually was worried about the double Bone Giant. I was like, I always play double Bone Giant against Skaven, or a lot of the time I do. So I have some Eshin Triads back here in Deep Vanguard. So, you know, oftentimes if you're with double Bone Giant, the army will push forward while the Bone Giants sit in the back and shoot. And if Eshin Triads come in with their anti-large and their AP, they can actually do a ton of work against a Bone Giant. So I do have them as a safeguard. For my opponent's army, Tomb Guard, Skeleton Warriors, Ushapti in the front. So he has some sustainability as far as his front line goes. A couple groups of Nehekar Horsemen, 2 groups of Sepulchral Stalkers, and Halberds on the far side as well. So this was actually played on ladder, so it wasn't played on a tournament or anything. So ladder is now working, by the way. So if anybody wants to get onto ladder. So it's the Wild West once again. I don't know if you can actually bring triple caskets in a lot of the different tournaments and things like that. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. So Grand Hierophant Kotzep coming in, rolling in the deep here. As far as range goes, they have 440, and my Warp Lightning Cannon, I think, is somewhere in that ballpark, maybe a little bit more. No, actually less. So 430 on my Zap Cannon. So basically, seeing the triple casket, I run with my army. I just pull these guys back, I get my Jezzails up, and I get my Warp Lightning Cannon shooting. I'm like, I need to just kill at least one of these. Now, caskets are very expensive. The first shots are coming downtown, and they're going to go right in the face of that casket, doing huge damage. It looks like over 1,000 damage on that single shot here, but the caskets are coming back in, going after the Warplock Jezzails, which were kind of like a distraction here. I was hoping that he would shoot the Jezzails instead of the Warp Lightning Cannon, so those guys are taking a bit of a pounding there. And so is the casket. So casket's getting relatively low. If we look on the edge of the map, you can see my Eshin Triads are going to be trundling their way over, trying to get into the cookie jar here. We'll see how that goes. But now comes the hurt. The casket's shooting in, doing some serious damage here, going into the Ikit Zap Cannon. A little bit of a mistake. Had my opponent put all of his caskets into the Zap Cannon immediately, it would probably almost one-shot it, like if not like route them instantly, which would have been a pretty smart play. But in this case, now this casket here, I mean, of course, it's easy to make that mistake. I would have probably shot the Jezzails as well. But yeah, you can see that the Casket of Souls is now shooting in, and it's doing some work. I'm probably going to lose an artillery piece here in a moment as those shots make some serious contact. Thankfully, though, this Casket of Souls is getting danger low. My Helpit's going to be charging forward, and my Jezzail's kind of taking a low ground approach, trying to get in range here. But I was so happy at least we got one casket. I mean, we are going to be taking some serious damage, probably losing the Zap Cannon, as my opponent is getting his Skeleton Horseman here. Oh, so it's only Skeleton Horsemen. It's not Nehekar Horsemen, so that's good for me. So Zap Cannon coming in, 463, 452. This bad boy is crumbling. Narrows Incantation of Protection going down. Unfortunately, that won't protect against the Zap Cannon because it does do magic damage, but perhaps if there were other sources of damage coming in. But he might have been just trying to trigger the cooldown reduction from Kotzep's staff. Jezzail shooting in as well, going to be sniping this filthy Casket of Souls, 167 HP. This guy on his DJ booth, he's got his mixer right there. We're going to see how much longer he lasts against the Jezzail fire. Seems like they kind of got like pushed back by something. Ah, yes, the Skeleton Horseman kind of forced me back here. And yeah, you can see now that my Ikit Zap Cannon crew is going to be running for the hills from the caskets. Now the double casket shooting in. Oh, this is going to be painful. Going into my elite troops, my Plague Pack, my Council Guard, just these expensive troops. And now my opponent actually, despite the early advantage of killing a casket, has kind of pulled ahead on the bounce of power. I mean, doing that much damage against my elite troops is no joke. In the front line, Ushapti are going to be pouring into Clan Rats. I know I need to press the issue here, do as much damage as I can. Helpit Abomination. Going to be trying to work on some of these Ushapti, get some damage in there. I'm just engaging with everything. Screw the defensive formation, push forward. I need to get to those caskets. Now in the back line, Skeleton Horsemen trying to get onto the Warplock Jezzails, but are intercepted by the dreaded Council Guard. And thankfully for me, the Ikit Zap crew is coming back online, which means those guys are going to be shooting once again. Up here in the front, you can see the Blight Scab's Plague Pack doing some great damage. A little bit of friendly fire coming in perhaps, but they hit like absolute trucks, and they will melt Skeleton Warriors extremely quick because they also have a Contaminate ability, which will lead to them crumbling quicker because it does tank leadership pretty hard. In the back, I do get some Eshin Triads back there, and they're actually doing pretty well, chopping down the Sepulchral Stalkers. The ambush is sprung and doing some damage to this other group as well. So from a cost perspective, even if they run here in a moment, this is really good anti-large damage against these troops. My other Zap Cannon, or my only Zap Cannon, is back online. It's now shooting at Kotep, and I do have some Rat Ogres defending against the Skeleton Horsemen back here, so hopefully the Zap Cannon will last a little bit longer. And the front line of the Tomb Kings is certainly taking a ton of damage. It looks like the Ushabti Summon may have been used, a little bit hard to tell, but the other Ushabti surging back here, going after my Jezzails, but I get him with the Warp Grinder. So the Warp Grinder weapon teams are going to be locking these guys in place while the Council Guard come in with their halberds and hopefully do some really, really good damage against these foul Ushabti. And yeah, really good usage there from the Warp Grinders. I think it's a really good unit for Skaven just to have as like a one-off. Now the Bounce Fire is coming back in my favor a little bit as we're starting to kind of grind through the mainline forces. The Helped Abomination and the Ogres in conjunction with Skrolk are wearing down the Ushabti. I now have Skaven Slaves, some Summoned Plague Monks are going back here as well. Eshin Triads were broken off, but look at the damage they did. I mean, certainly not bad for the cost. Over here, my unfortunate Blight Scab's Plague Pack is going to be going. Those caskets raining some serious... Oh, that's so brutal! The Council Guard just getting melted by that firepower, and it does kind of pull the balance of power. It looked like maybe a teensy-weensy bit. Thankfully for me, though, my Jezzails are online. I have 16 of the 24, so they can put some hurt on Kotep back here. In the back lines, though, unfortunately, I was overwhelmed because my opponent did use the Ushabti summon, as well as some horsemen and some halberds who were able to get past the mainline fighting. So he is probably going to be able to shut down my Iked Zap Cannon here, and he is also going to be committing the Skeleton Horsemen to that fight. Now over here, you can see the Tomb Guard with halberds are fighting against monsters, which is a great fight for my opponent. Definitely a good choice there, keeping those guys in the monsters. And it looks like, though, Grand Hierophant Kotep's on the run, and if Caskets are running, they're not generating value. And the Eshin Triads in the distance coming in, sneaky concealment bombs have been popped. And we're certainly going to be planning another ambush as the Blight Scab's Plague Pack and the remnants of the Council Guard, not too many left, going to be trying to get in combat. I'm trying to support these Skaven slaves, but Kotep scooting and shooting. My opponent dropping some sweet StarCraft 2 micro here, falling back and shooting during the reload times. I love it. Now over here you can see the Sepulchral Stalkers are being chased down by Rat Ogres as well as Clan Rats, and the Helped Abomination is going to be going after these guys. Seismic Snare actually traps them once again, so another snare coming in from the Warp Grinders, adding some pretty good value and keeping me from being kited, because the balance is really just like back and forth, guys. My opponent keeps getting back in the game when he picks off these elite units. Right here, he's about to shut down my Jezzails. So a lot of like stressful stuff going on. I do drop another Plague Monk summon, just trying to throw bodies back here to keep these caskets from causing problems. And here you can see the Council Guard with 33 models and the Eshin Triads going in. It looks like a nice Sandstorm's coming in from my opponent. Beautiful play there from my opponent there. The Gerudo Sandstorm coming in, wrecking my Eshin Triads and also halting the advance of the Council Guard. But there's a lot of rats everywhere, and the rats are coming, they're hungry, and Skrolk's coming for blood. As a matter of fact, I still have both charges of my Liber Bubonicus at this point. I knew I wanted to save them to kill the caskets at some point, so I still have those. So Liber will be going down here on Kotep in a second, as the Ogres jump on the other DJ booth. So though the balance is even, with a casket build like this, it's very contingent on the caskets being free and firing, and now we're getting a very, very good swarm, and you can see immediately, once we get into the back line, Kotep gets wrecked by the Liber Bubonicus, and the Sepulchral Stalkers are not going to be great against Council Guard and a bunch of infantry, things like that, and the other Casket of Souls is going to be slapped into another dimension, perhaps Age of Sigmar, hopefully not for its sake, and yeah, the Helpet's going to just karate chop it. It looks like the Helpet was like getting knocked over. That's pretty funny. So as far as the build goes, I think it was a good build. That build is like my usual kind of go-to against Tomb Kings in general. It's very, very strong against Tomb Kings rushes and construct rushes with Tomb Scorpions and Nehekar Horsemen and Chariots and things like that. Probably a little bit susceptible against the dreaded Double Bone Giant, but I'm trying to think what I would change in retrospect, like to deal with like Bone Giants and like artillery play in general. It's pretty tough. Like had the caskets been a little bit more focus fired on my artillery right away, I think I could have been in some trouble. Like I might not have even killed that first casket. So what would I change? The Zap Cannon is pretty good. I guess you could cut the Zap Cannon and go for a couple more like Eshin Triad type units, like the Ixchas Triads, Eshin Triads, and some like stealth units like around the back of their army and collapse inward. And then if they go with the Death Star, you at least have a bunch of like halberd rats, right? So it's not the worst situation. And I might cut the Warp Lightning Cannon, get the Ixchas Triads, change the Sharpshooters to the Natty Bubo so they can't be focused on by the Bone Giants. And I think that's probably the safer bet if you want to kind of have a more well-rounded build there. So yeah, as a matter of fact, we'll go Theorycraft that a little bit. So well played to my opponent. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Skaven versus Tomb King game. And now let's go Theorycraft a build that could survive you know, a very optimal kind of either a Bone Giant build or a Casket build like that, right? So let's go ahead and go here. Let's go to Skaven. So I still think Skrulk is the way to go. His Rod of Corruption is just so damn good in those blob fights. As far as spells, you keep your summons and the Pestilent Breath. Those are the ones you want. And from here, we can get a couple Clan Rats. We can probably just get Spears. We'll get the Warp Grinders. Then we get you. We get the Council Guard. And we get the Ixchia's Triads. And we'll get the Sharpshooters as well. So from here, we need a Hellpit Abomination. We need a couple Ogres to have mass to stop them from just like running shop in my army here. So basically, you have the Immune to Psychology, you have the Triads here. I think we get a second group of Triads. Because like they would really perform very well against Bone Giants. So we have the Warp Grinders. Okay. So we do that, and then from the rest of our army, we can get some Skaven Slaves. Is there anything I can cut with Skrulk? Melee attack debuff's really good. Plague Rash is decent. Well, honestly, maybe if we're really trying to nitpick, we could cut this and get another Skaven Slave. Yeah, something like that I think could be really strong. So again, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and we'll be back with more content soon. Take care, guys.